What's up, guys? So it has been a minute since I've done a sit down video. My last few videos in Colombia, I have 7 videos on Colombia so far. I think it's 7, 6 or 7, and so far they're all vlogs. I'm pretty sure they are. So yeah, in the middle of this video I'm going to be taking down this disgusting hair because I am home for the holidays before heading back out, and it will not be South America. But yeah, I just wanted to tell everybody how Colombia was, because it is a question that I anticipate, and I don't know how to answer it. Like, it's like when you ask people how they are and they're like, oh, I'm good. Like, Colombia was good. If you haven't seen the last 7 videos, definitely go check those out. Subscribe, like, comment, dislike if that's what you're feeling. Like, just engage. But overall, Colombia was... it was cool. Let me start these. I'm just kidding. Let's do these low, even though I'm bald head. But Colombia was pretty cool. I did Medellin first, and then I did Cartagena. It wasn't until, shoot, it was like day 2 or 3 of Cartagena, and I'm like, I truly appreciate Medellin so much more. I would say that was the city that was like, I could live there. Even though I wouldn't, it's not a place that I would move back. There are so many places to see in the world. I doubt I go back at least anytime soon. But yeah, I would say Medellin is the livable place. Cartagena, I was looking forward to as far as laying on the beach. But then people and everybody I met in Medellin was like, the beaches in Cartagena aren't that great, and you actually need to like do a little road trip or something to get to a good beach. Also, I don't know if I said it, sorry for looking so like crusty and dusty, but I'm hopping in the shower to wash my hair after this, so there's no point in getting dolled up. But yeah, everybody said you would have to take like a day trip or something, or drive, or go to a different area for a good beach. So I only did that just the one time, other than walking to the actual beaches, which are right there. But when people, like my Airbnb was like, oh, the beach is 3 blocks away, you didn't think I was about to go to that beach, did you? Like, anything to be able to get people to come stay. So that's one thing I wanted to talk about. The first Airbnb was actually a hostel. Like, sometimes I've rented Airbnbs that are run like hostels, but this is an actual hostel, and I'm not sure that I knew that when I booked it. I may have realized after, you know, reading deeper into the comments. I think that's all. But I'm not sure that I knew that when I booked it, because their name was on their Airbnb profile, and then if you look, there's a little logo that said blank blank hostel, and I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have noticed that. So it turned out to be a hostel, which I have nothing against hostels. There are some hostels that I really, really love. For my travels next year, I booked one hostel because I have an overnight layover somewhere, and then I booked another one because I'm going to be in somewhere for a week. The Airbnbs literally did not look good, so I booked a hostel. I book hostels when I think that they're like funky looking or beautiful or cool, and you know, I'd rather stay there than in somebody's house. And they're usually centrally located. So, yeah, so I booked this place. It was a private room, listed as a private room. That's another thing that I'm like, I never would have thought it was a hostel. So, I get in the room, and it's like damp and hot and muggy. Like, there's like that would you call it a mildew smell? You could just tell like air doesn't circulate. And there was nothing that really could have been done about that, because the place only lets you turn the AC on. By the way, I trimmed, I don't think it looks blunt, but before I put these in, I like trimmed my hair. I did the curl formers, and then when I like combed those out, I trimmed literally each piece. So these may look a little blunt, but I'm still bald, because my hair apparently doesn't grow. But yeah, air doesn't circulate, and they only let you use the AC from like 6 p.m. to 11 a.m. So I would come back, because I didn't really stay out too late there. I would have to walk down the highway, and I didn't want to do that too late at night. Plus, the neighborhood on the other side of the hostel was sketchy. Like, even the guy who checked me in was like, all right, when you go out, you make a left and you go down the street. Don't go that way. There's nothing good going on that way. Good people aren't down there. And I think I drove down that street like one time and it wasn't so bad. And besides, everybody thought I was Colombian anyway, so I blended in. I don't think they would have really bothered me, but I wasn't chancing it. And it was literally, I didn't feel like going down that street to explore. There was literally nothing down there, just homes and stuff. So that was another thing. But yeah, so I would come back from walking around or whatever, hot and just nasty, and then I would have to go stand in my room, literally stand, because I don't like to sit on the bed or anything unless I've showered. And yeah, so I would just be standing there sometimes and just sweat dripping down my face. Now, I'm not really a sweater because I love the heat. I would prefer to be hot than cold, but like I would be standing there with sweat just dripping everywhere, waiting for 6 o'clock to come for them to turn on that fucking AC. And then there were more than one occasions when 6 o'clock came and went, and I would have to go to the front desk like, are y'all gonna turn on the AC or no? Like, the fuck? So that was a thing. Oh, and if you watched I think it was my first day in Cartagena video, when I walked into the room, there were mosquitoes like on the door, and then there was a swarm that like came at me once the guy opened the door, and I thought they were gnats until I walked in and like saw one on the wall, and I'm like, I know I was visibly like pissed. I'm like, these are mosquitoes. And he's like, oh yeah, it was raining and that's why something blah blah blah. First of all, the window's closed. Second of all, like, even when I opened the window, swarms of mosquitoes weren't getting in. Maybe one, maybe two, but like when I opened the window, because there was a net stapled to it. There was no what do you call them, window screens. They stapled a net to it. Mosquitoes weren't getting in like that. I'm probably under exaggerating the amount of mosquitoes that came out of that room when he opened it. And besides, it wasn't raining. It was not raining. I don't think it rained that day. So I don't know what he was talking about. I can only assume that like when the cleaning lady cleans, which I hope she does, she must leave the door like wide open, because there were also a few mosquitoes right there in the hallway. They would like just stay there. So when I finally did get bug spray, every morning I would open the door. I would open it just a crack and like spray out there. Because as I mentioned in that video, I'm allergic to mosquitoes. I already have some scars from this trip, but they itch me for a really long time. They'll turn into these hard lumps on me, and those stick around for longer than they probably should. Or, and I got two, but these were from Medellin, I'll get a blister from like scratching around it, like just a little bit, but I'll get an actual blister that's filled with liquid. And yeah, that's not fun. Like, one of them got so big that it looked like I was walking around with a wart, and it's a mosquito bite. So like, I don't want to deal with that. I don't care how I sound. I don't want to deal with that. I did not pay for that. I did not pay for like damp, mold, mildew, mosquito. Like, I didn't pay for that. Shower water. This is something everyone should know about. Maybe just Cartagena. In Medellin, I had hot water. Sometimes it would turn off like every couple minutes, so I would turn off the shower head and then turn it back on, because I think I tried it one time. I think if you just stand there and expect the water to turn back hot, it won't. So you have to like reset it. But in Cartagena, what's a hot shower? Like, I can't wait until I finish taking this hair out so I can take my first hot shower in a week. Like, what is hot water? Even when you're brushing your teeth, what's hot water? And so after 3 days, I left the hostel. Just thinking about it. And by the way, Airbnb ran me my money back after already me trying to book my place that I'm staying for where I'm going next month. I'm like going off on a tangent. Trying to book the place for next month, which I'll be staying for a month. So when you book a place over 26 nights, you automatically, if you cancel, you can't get a refund. That's dead. So I have to be very careful and selective before I book these places. So I'm like, I request to book it, and I told the guy my story. He's like, oh, we may have another house, and you can, there's another writer who wants to stay for 2 months, and we're thinking of just putting you guys in that house if you'd be open to it. So I'm like, okay, cool, let me see. And he was like, it'll be a little cheaper. All right, and it's just us in this house. So I'm like, let me see the pictures, and I'll decide. And I was also like, let me, I'd like to secure this place though, because this place was like, I think without a month-long discount, it would have been $6 something. The place was like $4 something, and this is Europe, so luckily it's off-peak season, so you know, I'm like getting a steal on some of these places. So so this was after, as he was talking to me, he was like, oh, you know, the place you're booking is of $150 a week versus the other one, which is $100. And so I'm like, okay, but clearly when I book the month, it's like giving you the month-long discount. Like on Airbnb, you get sometimes, not everybody does it. You'll get week-long discounts and you'll get month-long discounts. And he was running that down, but he didn't mention the discount. So before I'm like, yeah, let me book it, I'm like, so can you clarify, like, are you saying that I'm not gonna get it for the price that I reserved it for? And I was like, let me go ahead and reserve this one to lock it in, and then if I like the other one, I'll just go to the other house. He approves it and then sends me a request for like 200, maybe it was like 150 euro more. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And he was like, I told you, you know, this is the price. But then he went on to say that discount shouldn't have been applied. And I'm like, well, why would you approve it? And then you saw me ask how much. I said, is it not going to be this price when I book it? And instead of answering that, and then I say yes or no, and he approves it, he just approved it and then answered the question. Like, and we kept going back and forth. He's like, I told you this morning it was going to be this price. Yeah, that price with the month-long discount. So I had to end up contacting Airbnb, and because I wasn't going to cancel it, because that may show on my profile, which I don't care, but then I would still have to pay the Airbnb fee, which isn't that much, but I wasn't gonna eat that. And nobody told you to approve that and then tell me that it costs 200 euro more. Why would you do that? So Airbnb ended up making, these are so tight still. Airbnb ended up making him cancel, and when a host has to cancel, I think if it's your second time in 6 months doing that, first of all, it affects your superhost status, which I don't think they were, but everybody's goal is probably to be a superhost. But it also blocks off your calendar. So I'm pretty sure that for the month that I was requesting, they won't even show up anymore because of that slick shit. Like, why, sir? I wish I could message him. Like, why? I did ask him this. I was like, why would you even do that? Why would you approve and then tell me this? Clearly, I thought it was X price. Clearly, I have the budget for this price. Otherwise, I would not have booked your place. Like, once I saw how many places were under $500, not euros. Pretty sure it was dollars. Yeah, I was researching in dollars. For the amount of places that I saw that were 500 and under, I would have just booked one of those. I was purposely trying to get one of these like country homes that look like castles. They're made of stone, so even in your room, the walls are stone, the floors are stone, the ceiling, I guess, I don't know, there were no pictures of the ceiling. But yeah, so that, I done went on to the next location, but back to Colombia. So yeah, in Cartagena, as you can see from my videos, I did the Palenque tour and I did the Playa Blanca tour. Now, one thing I can say about Playa Blanca, even though it was gorgeous, I found out after the fact, it's hurricane season currently. So they aren't experiencing hurricanes, but it affects the tide, which is something I was thinking. As I would walk to the beach, I'm like, why is no one like laying out on this beach? Everybody is in like a chair. In the downtown hotel zone, they were in lounge chairs. It depends on your hotel, I think, but for the most part, like, everybody was in an actual, like, those plastic lawn chairs, I guess that's what you would call it. And yeah, I'm like, I can't get no tan like this. Like, I'm pretty sure if I got naked right now, the front of my body would be tan and the back would not be. So when we got to Playa Blanca, like, those were our only options. There was no laying on the beach, because if I lay down, a wave in not even 10 seconds was gonna come and completely drench all of my stuff. So it was what it was. But when I asked Alex Rocha, if you're going to Cartagena, and you I don't know, you want any type of tour, really, like, there were not just black people on these tours, but if you specifically want to learn about the Afro-Colombian history, I feel like he incorporates that into any of his tours. He did in the boat that I took. Oh yeah. And then the ones that I didn't take when I was reading up on them, he does. So I'm gonna leave his information and his website in the description box, but contact Alex Rocha if you're going to Cartagena, any type of store, any type of tour. So yeah, but yeah, I asked Alex after we were leaving Playa Blanca, like, does nobody lay out? Like, are there no beaches where you can lay out and get a tan? And he was like, yeah, but it's hurricane season. So yeah, one thing I did, I like wrote down a list. I've been like off topic, I'm sure, but one tour that I didn't do was El Totumo, and that's the mud volcano. So I had reserved it through my hostel, and I couldn't sleep one night, and even though I slept way better in Cartagena than I did in Medellin. So I couldn't sleep one night. It was like after midnight, and I'm like reading up on blog posts about this tour, because it just didn't sit right with me. It's honestly, sometimes I do things just for you guys, just so I can have a blog post, because I'm perfectly fine going to a place and not doing shit. I am a-okay doing that. So it was something I was just gonna do, but it didn't really appeal to me. Then I started reading blog posts, and unfortunately you can tell how I feel about the tour from, like, I'm sure my face and my tone, but it just didn't sound like something. I was reading them, and it seemed like the bloggers, maybe 2 out of 3 or maybe all 3, it seemed like they didn't really enjoy it, but at the end they would be like, but if you have a free day, definitely try it out, it's an experience. And I'm just like, why did y'all do this? Why are y'all encouraging people to do this? But all the commenters, though, or when you read like TripAdvisor reviews, the majority of the people was like, this was so fun. But like the steps leading up to and the steps after you getting in this mud, it just doesn't sound appealing to me. So El Totumo, I believe, oh, that's my alarm. El Totumo, I believe, I don't know what it translates to, but let's just say it's a mud volcano. It's literally like a tiny in a sense of volcano, but bigger than people. So it's this mound of mud, and then in the middle of it, it's mud for people to get in and lather their body up, and apparently it has like healing properties and it's good for your skin and stuff. So you have to get there only on a tour. You book it, and then once you get there, I think it's like a 2-hour drive, maybe more, from Cartagena. So once you get there, you get off the bus, you should already be pretty much naked in your bathing suit, and you have to stand on the steps that go up to the top of the mountain. And a lot of people were like, we stood there for 40 minutes. So I think there are always 2 tours at 9:30, and then there's a 2:31. If you get there in the afternoon, maybe there's less of a line, or if you get there in the morning, like if your bus is the first one, then obviously, but only 10 to 15 people I think can fit in there. So yeah, you may be waiting in line. You get to the top, you give a man your camera, keep on your shoes, because once it's time to come down, your feet are going to be hurting, so make sure you have on your flip-flops. But when you get to the top, you give a man your camera, and apparently, you know, he remembers he remembers which camera belongs to everyone, apparently. He takes good pictures if you give him a camera or your phone or whatever. So, and then you descend into the actual mud. Some people say that it's lower than others, so I don't know if the rain tops it up once it gets low, or if they are actually shoveling mud up the hill. But so it can be really low where you're climbing on these slippery muddy steps down into the mud, or it can be, I've even seen pictures of people I know that went there and the mud was, I would say, medium. and then you'll see pictures where it's really high, like almost at the top, and then there are pictures where you see people have to climb like a full person length, like 5 feet down into the mud. So I don't know if it depends on the time of year or if it's just, you know, people in and out taking mud with them. So yeah, and then they sell the mud at the bottom. Like, I think they put it in little bottles and try to sell it. So one blogger was like, first of all, she's an introvert, I'm an introvert, so she was like on the bus, her tour guide was like, introduce yourself, you know, get to know each other. I hate stuff like that. Like, especially if I'm on a ride to a tour, the last thing I want to do is socialize. I did it with Alex because those tours were just like, we instantly became like a little family, and we were just like chatting it up, having rum 10:30 in the morning. So that was cool. But, and he also has really small tours, like 10 people or less, and our tours didn't even have 10 people, but let's say 10 people or less. Versus a tour of 30 people where it's like, please let me just take a nap on this tour so I can get there, get back. That's what I paid for. So she was like, they tried to make people introduce themselves, but yeah, she's like, when it came to getting in the mud, she could see like this oil slick on it, which I'm sure comes from like people's sunscreen. That's another thing. Take sunscreen, not in case you will be standing in the sun and you will be baking in this mud. Take sunscreen. But I'm sure the same reason they're like, don't apply that crap before getting in the pool, or wash off before getting in the pool. There was like an oil slick, it was just like dirt and grime and gunk and oily, and it's just, why would anybody want to do that? Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to get into other people's funk and juices? So that was an issue, and that's not the biggest issue, even though after I read that, it's just like, I don't want to do that. And why did you? And why do people? Like, just trying to figure out the meaning of life at that point. So you can stay in there. Some people are going to be there once you get in, and then once you get out, they're still going to be there. They kind of don't time you, but your bus may time you. So if they're like trying to get people in and out, you may only have like 10 to 15 minutes, which, why would you really need more? And the thing about the mud that I guess amazes people is that you're floating in it. It's like there is no bottom for you to touch, and you're like in suspension. So once you get down into it, there are men to help you like get your balance and stuff, and they also are there to give you massages. And I don't know if you've been to a country where they're hustlers and that's how they make their money, but you got to say no like 5 to 10 times before they stop touching you or leave you alone. And that was an issue that I saw a lot of people complain about, but you know, they're just, some people were like, well, just say no. I mean, it is what it is. I hate the it is what it is people. Like, if I want to be upset about something, let me have my feelings. Like, this don't concern you. So, you know, if you don't want a massage, and sometimes it's literally just them rubbing you. Some people's complaint was, you know, it's not even, I've had massages, this is not a massage, it's just them rubbing the mud all over you. But in addition to that, you can just tell them no, and then when it's time to get out, you go ahead and get out. You go down to, now I always get this confused, I can't remember if they said it's a river or a lake. And oh, I forgot to set my alarm. You go down to a river or a lake, and there are these old women. I hope they're really old. I hope I'm not just calling women old, but everybody refers to them as like abuelas. So I think they really are like old women. And they're there to wash you. Now, I saw a lot of people say it's not even a lake, and they just have a bucket full of dirty water that the kids go to the water source and like fill up, and then fill it into these big green buckets, and then the old women will like get down and dirty and wash you. Like, this is another problem for me. Some people were like, if you're not fine with nudity, then this isn't the thing for you, because those women will have you naked so they can get all the mud out your crevices. Like, they will flip up your bathing suit or like take it off sometimes. Like, one blogger was like, I looked over at my friend and she was completely naked. No, abuelas. Like, one, you're not gonna be aggressively like massaging and touching me, and then you're not gonna take off my bathing suit. And I got a tour bus of people. Like, I'm like, did they separate the men and the women? Where are the men at? And no, all the nopes. Nope. And after like reading for 15 or 20 minutes through different blogs and reviews, I saw like 2 people. There was the one person, and then a couple minutes later there was another person who was like, you can tell them no. To me, it didn't seem optional out of all of the things that I read. But then, you know, these 2 came out the cup and was like, you can tell them no, and go wash yourself. So I'm like, okay, well, if I do still go tomorrow, then I'll just do that. I'll tell them no. I'll say no to the masseuses, and I'll say no to these grannies who want to like have me naked at the riverfront to wash me, because no. So those that and the just the thought of getting in this gunk that thousands, if not tens of thousands of people have not gotten in over the year, like, no, that just doesn't appeal to me. And then there's an option to shower, but literally everybody was like, it's not a shower, it's like a trickle of water. This is a thing also depending on the year. When I was like, the water source may be different depending on the year, because I actually saw some pictures of people in it, and some people were like, there was no water there, and then some people were like, I could visually see there was an actual lake. So maybe it dries up at a certain time of the year, but it rains a lot this time of year. It is December, so maybe that makes a difference, whether or not it's raining to fill up that water source. But yeah, I would just say try the massage if you want it, but no to those women. Like, no, I don't need you to wash me. And then the other turn off, on top of paying for the tour, everybody gets a tip. Everybody will come find you afterwards and hold out their hand, because you're gonna pay them for their service. So the guy who takes the pictures, and I think the tips, the running tip is, what I was reading was 3,000 pesos, but it could be 4,000 now, because I couldn't find too many 2017 blogs. I was reading all 2016, so it could be 4,000 pesos now. But the guy who the kids who hold your shoes, you gotta tip them. Everybody gets the same tip. The kids who hold your shoes, the camera guy, who I think he's the one worth tipping, the masseuses, they're in your face because you owe them a tip for your massage. You gotta pay the abuelas for getting you good and clean, and I want to say that is it. So yeah, none of that sounds appealing to me. I hope I'm not telling it in a way that I turn you off, but I'm honestly telling you how I feel about it, and that's all this is. I'm not trying to steer anybody away from this. I'm just telling you why I was like, nope to the nope to the nope, nope, nope. So yeah, and then you get back on the bus. Everybody's like, you don't even really get clean, and the smell of the mud is disgusting. So you got another 2.5 hours to ride back to Cartagena like that, not fully cleaned and stinky. Nah. And it worked out anyway, because at least in the area that I was in, it rained that entire day. Like, I was sitting in a Juan Valdez cafe because there was a downpour. And I look at my watch like, this is the time I would have been heading to El Totumo. So, nah, did not do that. Check the list. The last thing, because I'm almost done with my hair. So what I really want to talk about, and that's going to be the last thing, is poverty in the places I go. I have to say that as I was on the airplane, like descending onto the tarmac, I saw slums from my window, and it was my first time in person, even though it was from an airplane. So my first time seeing something like that. It's like what you would see in the movies. I'm surprised I didn't, even when I went to like the hood in Medellin, or when I was on the, I guess when I was on the, what is that, the cable car. You know, I saw some impoverished places, but it didn't seem like Cartagena. It was like the shacks with the tin roofs, like. So that was just something I noted. Nothing happened. I just will never forget me about to land, and that's what I see. And there were impoverished people. I don't want to say they were homeless. I probably saw way more homeless people in Medellin, because I knew they were homeless, because it would be early in the morning and I'm like in my Uber on my way to somewhere, and I see them like waking up off the sidewalk. They're ready to get the day started. They're bathing in the water bottles. So I did see way more of that in Medellin now that I think about it, but I don't know, it was just something about Cartagena where it just made me think about it more. And it's something I never talk about because I don't know in what space to talk about it. Like, even in Paris, I remember asking Miriam, who was taking me around a lot, I remember at one point, I think we were in the hookah bar or something, but I'm like, who are all of those people on the ground, like on mattresses? And she's like, oh, they're the Syrian refugees. Like, I'm on my way to the Louvre of all places where there are billions of dollars worth of art, and like I'm stepping over a grandma and her grandchildren or a mother and her children on a mattress in the middle of the sidewalk. And I think that's something that they're never going to show you. Like, I didn't go to off-brand areas or I don't know, more residential. Like, I wasn't somewhere where I shouldn't have been or somewhere where there was nothing to see. I'm on my way to the Eiffel Tower, and there's an entire family laid here on the street on a mattress. Like, it's not like they just set up shop and they're chilling there. They have a whole mattress. So yeah, I just think that's of note. I don't know why. It's sad. And there is a difference between, this is so random. I don't know what I wanted to say about this, but I did want to address and acknowledge it. So it is strange. It's strange to see how they move. Like, you know, in Paris, they can just sit there and hold their hand out. They can hold their hand out and, you know, expect money. I think it's a lot like the US as well, whereas in a third world country, you know, they're not, I've never really experienced them like just sitting on the ground and holding their hand out and wanting something from me. Maybe, you know, the guys, when it rained and flooded the streets in Cartagena, they built a bridge from each sidewalk to sidewalk and for the people to walk over, and then they're like, all right, now pay me. Like, they're hustlers versus just expecting a handout. I think they kind of work for it. So yeah, that's something to note. What else? On the tours that I did with Alex, I will say him telling us about the Afro-Colombian history and how the slaves revolted to start the town Palenque. Like, the Spaniards freed them because they were tired of what the Africans were doing, like killing people. And it just made me think, well, what the hell was going on? What was the difference between Colombian slavery and American slavery, where in America nobody was even, I'm not saying nobody ever tried to escape. We know they did. We know there were movements. But it just seemed like in Colombia, they were like getting shit done, and like they wouldn't take no for an answer. They were going to be free. And that's just admirable. And the fact that Palenque is a town where they started and they're trying to preserve the culture, like the language that the original people of that area or that tribe, maybe, the original language was Bantu. They're still over there speaking Bantu in addition to Spanish, trying to learn English. They're preserving their culture. There are so many little communities that Alex drove us through where he's like, these are your people. These are African Colombians. They came and started this town. What are we doing here where we can't have like a little community? I just don't understand why that didn't happen here. Like, what the difference was. What was the mindset that would make these people say, you're going to give us free. We're going to be free. And here it's like the mind control or their thought process was like, it is what it is, you know, we just got to accept it. And then there were those few people who was like, this, I wasn't born into this. This is not supposed to be my life, and I'm going to do something about it. It just seemed like there were way more of those people over in Colombia. So that is also another note. How many do I have? But yeah, so I'm really still confused about what to say other than it was cool when people ask me how was Colombia, but it was cool. There's your answer. And then I just gave you a few stories about how it was. So yeah, this is gonna be a very long video, but I don't know, you got to see me take out my hair. I'm just going to put some oil in it, and that's going to be, I think, my pre-poo. Yeah, I have time to wash my hair. So that's going to be my pre-poo, and that is it, my friends. I will see you soon. Ciao.